and Tebogo Masemola in the building. Majita, how you doing?
No, it's good to be back, Pixel. Thanks for having us once again. And we've come to that business end of the Rugby World Cup with the final coming this weekend. So it's been good times, it's been good rugby. But business end of the tournament this weekend.
Tebza?
Hey, Zanti Flavor, good to have you here. Pixel, thank you so much once again for bringing us onto the show. Really, really enjoy it. But yeah, like everyone just said now, the business end of the tournament. It's 3 versus 3, and we want to see who's going to get to 4 World Cups first.
Listen, I wanna start the conversation with a bit of something that people, when you read through, like they're trying to be controversial with the referees that have been picked to officiate like South African matches. An England referee named to be the referee on the final with South Africa. Should that be something we worry about, or I mean, it's just referees?
Well, honestly, I don't think we really need to worry about it. I've read another article where they've said, he's very inconsistent when it comes to the results of the All Blacks as well. He is the most experienced referee in the world ever at the moment. He's done, I think, in the essence of 140 test matches. So I'm not too worried about him. I am worried about how he's going to referee certain aspects of the game and how that might influence us. But we just need to prepare for that. That's what I think about it.
Definitely. I think Wayne Barnes, him being called up to be the match official for this game, it's never really the small things. It's when it comes to big decisions, whereby a little bit of inconsistency comes his way and all that. But I think throughout the semi-finals and the quarter-finals that were played, South Africans do feel a little bit hard done by in terms of when they found out that Ben O'Keefe was going to ref the French game. And then, to be honest, for the French game, he was really inconsistently bad for both sides. Consistently bad for both sides, and then he got a lot of backlash. I don't know if you saw the video of him coming out to warm up for the game against South Africa in France. He was actually booed by the fans, by the French supporters. So it's weird. You don't see that a referee getting booed and all of that stuff. And then you could kind of see that pressure was getting to him, because there is a couple of decisions that he made against South Africa in that game that really, when you look at it, you're like, well, they were not the right ones, But then again, as the game went on, the more he started being, very consistent and being very fair towards both teams. So I'll always say that the refs get reviewed and they get, validated and all that stuff. So they would never go out and say that they want to, make one team lose or one team win.
Yeah. Look, let's jump into another thing, right? I want to touch on the quarterfinal a little bit, because we didn't have a show, so after the quarterfinal, so that we can look into the semi and then just throw forward into the final, right? In the quarter, according to you guys, how did we do? Because we had the quarterfinal, very close score, semi-final, very close score, which is quite something that is not really usual with the Springboks.
Well, I think if we look back at the quarterfinal, it was sort of a fair result. The French are a good side. They're a very proper side. They had their home support, almost 80,000 people at the Stade de France. So a 1-point win there felt for me like a fair result. Yes, we didn't really play at the best in certain aspects of the match. And it was quite a very paced match where, it was quickly tries, the French scored that first try in the first, minute or so. And so we had to adapt to that pace. If we could have maybe had the pace a bit slower at the start, like we would want to play our rugby, maybe we would have won by a bigger margin. But, we had to reply with that fast-paced action. And whenever you play very fast-paced rugby, you give a gap somewhere in the field in terms of your defence as well.
No, I think first and foremost we need to look at both semi-final, the quarterfinals that were played. When you look at the All Blacks and Ireland, I think, my goodness me, that was absolutely brilliant. That game that was played by Ireland and then of course New Zealand. And then when you look at the Springboks, their game against France, the big thing for me, you know, in terms of what stood out for me was how cautious the Boks were, because they knew that the French could attack them from the middle. So they weren't as, that rush defense that we used to so much. They couldn't really get it going. And the French, to be honest with you, they broke us quite easily. Especially with the last minute. I mean, the last minute when Faf kicked the ball away. Now, normally when a team does that and there's a minute left and they kick the ball away, they're hoping to somewhat trap you in your own 22 and let you build out from it. But what happened was that the French just caught the ball and they ran straight through. They ran all the way straight through until they got to our halfway line, and then they almost maybe just milked the penalty or something like that. But luckily for us, we won that game. So I think, I think this was arguably, the quarterfinals that were played was arguably the best quarterfinals we've had in World Cup history.
I think all four of them.
Yeah.
If you go and look at the Fiji one, Fiji England, Fiji almost came from behind to win that one. Argentina were behind at a stage in the match. They came back and they won it
against Wales.
So I mean, that was an upset. Argentina beating Wales in a quarterfinal of a World Cup. No one would have predicted that. And good on them for getting to that semi-final. They've got another big one coming up on Friday to play in that third and fourth place playoff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of tactical things. If you go and look back at the Ireland-New Zealand game, I think at the start, that first 5 minutes, New Zealand attacked for 30-plus phases. At the end of the match, Ireland attacked for 30-plus phases and then lost the ball. No one scored from that, but it was just that high intensity. Coming back to the Springbok match where he said, Faf kicked the ball away. He kicked the ball away because he was scared we were going to concede a penalty for sealing off. and so they were like, okay, well, maybe we can get a penalty for sealing off. So it was just these small margins.
Wow. But the big one that I feel like this one was probably like one that the Springboks sat and looked at it and like, we were lucky was the semi-final.
I almost had a heart attack last week with the French game. Tebza was there, he'll know. I didn't even have a heart attack. I was just so negative, before we scored that try, and I thought, why do we want to go out like this? We didn't give our best, and then when it's just your day, it's your day. And we got over the line. I think, honestly, don't think we won it. I think maybe England lost it because they were the better side. But I mean, however it happened, we threw and we into the final.
But what was England's plan, Tebza, when you look at that game with how England played? Because I don't think England had any intention of going for maximum points. They didn't even looked into wanting tries or anything like that. They just wanted going for those penalties, and they got them.
Yeah. So basically, what happened in this game? It's almost like 2019 when England played against New Zealand. They flipped the script. So the way that you expect England to play, they didn't do that. They played the way that you want to play, and that's how they beat us. They caught the ball, they kicked it high, and when they kicked it, they had those chasers going up. I mean, they had guys like Johnny May, who's not really the fastest, but the way Owen Farrell was letting that ball hang, and even their box kicks were not really. They were contestables instead of box kicks just to try and make sure that they pin us on the other side. No, they were contestables in trying to give their chasers a chance of getting the ball back. So and they did this with New Zealand as well. So in New Zealand, we all know them as that team that really wants to get the go forward momentum, 2 to 3 second rucks, maximum speed. That's how fast they want to be, and that's how they beat New Zealand last time. So for us, that's how they played with us. And then I think we remember what me and Ed said, that with the Springboks, going for points is actually more of an option. We really want to go for line first. But what they did was that every time they got an opportunity to go for points, they took it, because they probably knew that in terms of more defense, our more would be stronger. In terms of our more stoppage would be stronger. So I think their plan almost worked. But like Ed said, when it's your day, it's your day. And I need to go back to that, saying that, the bomb squad.
Yeah.
Your coaches know when and where to bring on the right players. And when they did, they came on and they did the job for us. So
And I mean, that's how we played 2019. We played exactly that. We set it up. We took our points when we got them. And then we changed to this expansive game plan. Whereas we sort of changed it around a bit, giving the opportunity to Amani Libbok to play his expensive, game and get the backline on the move and then want to settle for that 3-pointers and 3-pointers. So maybe something to look into this weekend. Maybe to get the points first, set the game, and then play expansive.
Look. Also, the other thing that I picked up is that our lineouts were not really working for us. They were basically working against us. What's happening with our lineouts?
Yeah, I just think for this whole entire World Cup, I don't think Bongi has been on song. His lineout throwing has been questionable. But even coming into the World Cup, it's been a big cause of concern. And you think if it was someone like a Joseph Dweba, you'd probably not be in the team as well. Or if there was if he wasn't a World Cup winner already for the Boks, then he wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? So I think at the moment he's working on luck. Malcolm Marx is not there, so he has to start. Dion Fourie is he's not used to playing, as hooker, but he does well when he comes on. Marco van Staden as well, he's not used to playing, so you can't completely take him out of the team, which I think at the moment he's running on luck. So he needs to be, and this is why when we mentioned the referees, we said that Ben O'Keefe was a bit, he was a bit eyes up in terms of what was happening. So that's why he called him a lot on the skew throws, because now that is something that probably, the New Zealanders will be talking about to the ref and saying he's going to throw a lot of skew balls, So it's tough. It's not that our lineouts are not functioning. It's just that we don't have a hooker who can throw it.
Should we be worried when we're about to face a team like the All Blacks, because we're going to the final and it's just one chance,
Yeah.
If you miss it, like you were there but you missed it.
Yeah, I think it's all about the day. I think New Zealand in terms of Cody Taylor can also have an off day. I hope it's this weekend. They haven't had an off day since the start of the World Cup. So, I think there is point of concern. I'd rather say that my concern comes more to the mauling part than the actual line-out part. Yes, it hasn't been all, roses and moonlight and so on. But I'm really concerned, at maul time. We're not setting the maul early enough. We're not getting momentum there.
Getting sacked a lot as well.
When
the opportunity comes,
and that's where France has been good for me. Malvaka, usually that was the hooker for France, had a lot of balls, similar to the try that Erge scored on the weekend with Dion Fourie coming out. He had a lot of moves like that, so he could get over the advantage line. I'm just scared we're not getting over the advantage line as good as we want to when it comes to maul time, because that's generally been our strength. That's, in Japan we scored a try where we had a 35 or 36 meter maul. So that might be a point of concern for us.
Even the move, the move was based on how strong our
maul
was, where we decided to set up a maul in the middle of the field, and we just turn around, get the ball going, whoop, and here we go. So it's one of those things. I think going into this New Zealand game, into the final, I think it's important to say that one of two things can happen. Is that, New Zealand are going into this game as the hard favourites. So one of two things can happen. It's either New Zealand's going to go there to play rugby and win the game, or New Zealand can go there and then try and play the occasion. And that's where we can come in and win the game. And I'll probably get a little bit of backlash from a couple of South African supporters. Not that I'm saying that South Africa is not strong enough to beat New Zealand. No. But I'm saying at the moment they have the upper hand, and we should also realize that I think individually Springbok players are tired. They're very tired. I think they've played a lot of rugby. And I'm talking.
It's been a long season.
It's been a long season. I'm talking URC from the beginning of the year. They've played URC.
It's been basically a year season.
It's been a year playing rugby, and then all of a sudden you go into the World Cup. So that's why you find that sometimes the guys look off, and all of us